What's going on, everybody? How's it going, Discord community? Welcome back to episode 7 of Behind the Bench. I'm your host, Neil, Irish Flyers collector here on Discord and over on the Instagram. I hope everyone is doing very well today. Thanks for tuning in and checking out this episode. So for today's episode, I do want to jump right into it. I'm not going to do a bit of a recap of last week's, but I will talk about that topic of autos again because I had some good questions come in. But for today, I wanted to jump right in for this topic that is pretty common. So I thought I'd bring in some help. I got a fellow Discord member to come in and join me for today's episode. So let me do that right now. And let me welcome in Scott. Let me pull him in here. Scott, Postmaster Scott.
Hey, everyone.
How's it going?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. So thank you very much for joining us, joining me today. I really appreciate you. So now I think most everyone here on Discord has seen your name, recognizes you, and you're helping out, and your comments. They've seen you because you were one of the most active members there. So why don't you start out by maybe giving like a brief hobby, like Postmaster Scott, like origin story here, and then maybe something I'll start fun here is to maybe share something that you feel is your favorite part of like the Gong Show Discord.
Okay. Yeah, my real name's obviously Scott. I've been collecting I got back into collecting about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. And it really, like, hockey's really the only sport I watch anymore. When I was a teenager, I collected baseball and, dabbled in everything else. And started doing this because I figured it's a good way to do something when my kids get a little older. I can do it with them if they don't take up hockey, which I hope they do. But this is something we can, do together. And it's kind of a nice thing. It's still the only, sport that you can collect, and it's still collector driven. And it's not, the prices just aren't, insane like they are in baseball and basketball, football. So joined Discord probably a year ago, a little more than a year ago, maybe. And just, I have a job where I sit in front of screens all day, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. So I have the downtime to sit in there, post, silly stuff I come across social media. It helps me get me through my work day. And sometimes, after work, I'm just laying down watching TV, and somebody texts me a funny meme or interesting news article, and that's where I share it, because if I share it to my personal Facebook, maybe 5 people will appreciate it. So that's kind of what I do. So Josh christened me Postmaster Scott. I still go by CigarScott in a lot of forums and stuff, just because I used to work in the cigar business. So a lot of people, you got a circle of friends and you got 5 Scotts, and then they start calling me CigarScott. so it's just one of those things. So
yeah, that's how I always knew you. And it was funny when I must have missed there, and the calling you Postmaster. All of a sudden, I'm like, wait, we got another Scott here. We got a cigar Scott. We got a Postmaster. I'm like, what do we have next? So yeah, I knew, but once I realized it was you, I knew. I was like, oh, okay, we've just got a renaming dubbing going on. So
yeah, Josh christened me that on one of the shows, and I'm like, oh, I have to go with that now.
yeah,
I joked with him that it's like, a pro wrestler, getting a new gimmick. So that's really what it is.
that's a perfect angle. Perfect angle. So, so what? Yeah, you cover. What's one of the things? What's one of your favorite parts about the Gong Show Discord?
Just coming across people all throughout the country, all throughout the world. Because collecting hockey cards, at least seriously collecting hockey cards, can be a lonely thing here in the Deep South. There are a lot of people that collect. I run into them at the card shows I set up at, but they're very casual. Their idea of collecting is buying an occasional blaster at Walmart of a retail product, and they're good. And that's, the extent of their hobby. They have no idea what the cup is. They don't know what a Shield 101 is, and that kind of thing. So they're just happy if they pull a card of a player they like or a team they collect.
Yeah, I know what those things are. I've never had one. I never had the ships and all that stuff. So
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
yeah. So for everybody to catch everyone to speed, so Scott reached out to me and asked to help out with an episode on a topic of covering the hobby tool resource CollX. And here's why I was glad, Scott, that you reached out and why I was excited to have you on, because I know that one of the most popular questions that I've at least seen, either not just on Discord but outside of it, is questions like, "What do you use to track your card inventory or to price your cards?" And I've always heard CollX come up in the conversation as an option. So it's not one of the tools that I use. I think I tried it out initially when I first started, but so I figured you talked about it, so why not have a subject matter expert like yourself join me for the episode to at least talk about it and maybe speak to some of the features, and maybe we're going to try to show some of the features. So you want to start about talking about some of the basics about CollX, and what it is and what people should look for
mhm.
as a tool.
Yeah. So I mean, CollX is pretty expansive, kind of their own universe. And if you ask 100 people or 100 ambassadors how they use it, why they use it, you're probably going to get 100 different answers. I mean, for me, I use it to inventory my cards. Use it to sell online. I don't sell on eBay. Um, it's a good way for me to inventory everything I have, even down to 50-cent base cards. And I do sell a lot of that stuff on there, so it kind of ties into people asking what I do with all these base cards and $2 inserts I have. Well, there's a huge market for that out there, and a lot of people don't think of going on eBay, or people don't bother selling on eBay because of the fees that you sell a $2 card on eBay are usually upside down, whereas on CollX it's a 10% straight transaction fee. So if you sell a card for $1, you're still going to get 90 cents plus whatever the person pays for shipping. So you can, you're not going to get rich, selling a bunch of base cards, but it's a good way to get rid of them and go make sure they go to a home that actually needs them, whether it's a set collector or it's a casual collector who just wants, their favorite players from, the, Flyers or whoever. And I mean, I just did a big sale yesterday of people buying a bunch of random, you know, Dallas, stars, base cards and low level inserts, and it's $10 here, $15 there, and it adds up, and it's a way to get rid of it and make sure it's not going to landfill.
Yeah, so I agree with that, and that's one of the things that's a philosophy that I have, that when I did my episode a while back with all sharing how I have all those base cards and all those boxes, which note
Mm-hmm.
for all you listeners and watchers, I still haven't carried those things back down to my basement yet, but because it's 8 boxes,
I don't
nine
blame you.
boxes. But the philosophy of you saying something there was very interesting, like about you're not going to get rich off of base cards, and I think we all know that. But as collectors, I think that I don't know, I have this weird feeling like these cards aren't valueless. They should get into the hands of somebody that
Mm-hmm.
will appreciate them. So I can really, that resonates with me as well. Like hearing you say, you're not going to
Yeah,
use this to get rich. You want to find them, get them the right home.
yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, I mean, if you're going to do it the old-fashioned way and scan them in with your cell phone, it's going to be, it's going to take you a while, which is why it kind of works for me being a full-time desk jockey. I can sit there and scan 5 or 10 cards while between calls or emails from at work, and
Yeah.
so that's helped. But I think with us being on Discord, we kind of are in our own echo chamber where we're surrounded by serious collectors and know every product and know are into the release day and know every hobby product. But there's a whole you'll learn from using a product like this because the neat thing about CollX is a low barrier to entry. If you have a smartphone, you can download the app.
Mhm.
So and use it. You can inventory your cards, sell stuff, buy stuff, and so on and so forth. But there's a lot of people out there that are, their idea of collecting is buying a blaster of MVP at Target every so often, and or buying a
Yeah.
box of SP. They have no idea what the difference between SP and SP Authentic is, which
Yeah.
can be a detriment on collects. But I mean, for every one of us, there's probably 100 people out there that collect who buy an occasional blaster or they're happy if they get a $2 insert of their favorite player on their team.
Yeah.
And they're not necessarily hunting for future watch auto patches and stuff.
So that's interesting too. I never realized it was a forum where you could, or a platform, I guess, that I could, go on there and
Hmm.
buy cards or sell cards. That's a pretty cool option as well. So,
Yeah.
so where do you? So I'm going to try to remain, quiet as far as I prepared probably the least amount I've ever prepared for a show because, like I said, it's not a tool or resource that I actively use, but it's one I do want to learn about.
Hmm.
So I'll try to jump in with some
Hmm.
questions as they come to mind for me, and I'm sure you'll be able to shed some light on some of those questions as they come up. But
Hmm.
do we want to? Should we just jump in here and start sharing
Yeah.
your screen? And so let me do that. Let me put us here to the side, and then we're going to do this.
Okay.
So go ahead. I'm going to give the floor is yours, Scott. I'm going to give you the show here.
Okay.
So
Sounds great. So basically, what I got in front of me is a Android emulator that runs on PC. The one thing that is, the ambassadors and people are, still clamoring for is a full, like, web-based uh, way to fully utilize all of CollX's features without having to download the app or be able to, if you're someone like me that, sits in front of a desk all day at work, you can still play on CollX, in a web browser versus, doing this with your phone all day.
mhm.
So, so what I have here, this is an Android emulator. I have my account loaded into here, so I'm going to launch it and just pretend I'm on my phone.
All right, cool.
So this is basically what it looks like. And I guess let me go back to this. Go to all, normally it'll come up with the all. And so you can see here, this is what the GUI looks like. And you can see here that they have spotlights. You can, if you're a pro user, you can select so many cards to get added to their spotlight rotation. Um, you can see there's CollX picks. You see everything from wax to graded cards. They have, functions here for graded cards. They don't have it on the homepage for hockey, but they do. They're I talk to Ted, who's the CEO, at least once a week, and he's like, we don't see hockey as the redhead stepchild here. They do a lot of promotions for hockey, especially during the Stanley Cup. Well, one of their common promotions is what they call scanbacks, and they're blasting a notification out to every user that, like during the OV game, or when he scored uh,
Yeah,
the goal to surpass
the
Gretzky.
goal record. Yeah.
Yeah, so they sent out a scan back where first 100 people to scan in a OV card, and it could be a 50-cent base card, would get a $5 credit to their account. So they do a lot of stuff like that. And like during the Stanley Cup Finals, they're sending out alerts like, hey, Sam Bennett just won the Conn Smythe. Click here to look at Sam Bennett cards, and they'll pull pull Sam Bennett cards.
Oh,
And then
cool.
same with Kachuk and Bob and the like. So yeah, so they, they're actually based in Philadelphia. So they're, up in your neck of the woods. So they,
Yeah, I've
are,
heard that.
I don't, I'm their primary. And the nice thing about Ted is that he's a father. He basically started this with his kids as a
Mhm.
way to, collect together something, for it to be a kid friendly application. Um, so there's a lot of great things about it. I mean, of course, with any app, there's going to be pros and cons, and there's, things that could be improved upon. But the nice thing about CollX is that they're pushing out improvement updates at least once a week, sometimes twice a week. So us ambassadors have a weekly call, and we, submit ideas, or like, hey, this would be a really good idea if we can do this. The latest one I did was notify them about the authority, serial numbers for, the cup, was it RPAs. So submitted for
Mhm.
them to get that integrated into CollX. So if somebody scans the slab, that it would recognize the card instantly. So you can see here they got future products. You can see here's everybody knows, on the Discord, I'm a Jake Neighbors collector since we're like seventh cousins. So that's my safe search. Um, but you can see here there's stuff on here. Um, and, I've bought some really nice high end cards on here too of Jake. I've gotten some ultimate, patch autos and things like that from them on here. And you can see here latest activity. So so and so sold a card. So and so listed a card. And then now they have their own version of like those rip boxes and like the things that Zeri always opens. You know what I'm talking about. So they have their own. I don't think they have a hockey one, but they do those. You collect all their sports. They have them. Like you shop for brands. Like here's people to follow. But there's so let's go to hockey here. And you see they got they got sections for about everything that people collect.
Yeah.
Even racing and Lorcana and all that kind of stuff. So here's the CollX picks for hockey at this given time.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can see there's great. You want to search for graded cards. You can look for there. You want $5 hockey cards. McDavid, Bob, seller featured. Featured products. So I've bought some wax on here before. But if you go over to here, I don't know what I just clicked. Just pretend I didn't do that. If I go over here, then you can actually see. If you want to search for PSA 10s, you want to search for Beckett. You want to look for /5s, 1-to-1s. There's a lot of graded hockey. There you go. Hockey under $20. You can search for friends, find your friends on here, CollX ambassadors, top sellers. All that kind of thing. So that's kind of the home page for it. I'll just show you my account right now. Yeah. So basically, this is what your home page is. You want to look at your account. I guess I'm a playmaker, seller, top buyer. So you can. The nice thing about it too is that you can set automatic discounts. You can set up seller minimums. So if you want to sell base cards and low level parallels and inserts, and you don't want to be fulfilling a bunch of dollar orders, you can set a minimum order. It's like mine right here is $5. So you're not buying padded envelopes and all the packaging materials to sell a dollar card.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about CollX is they also have they have their own built-in shipping. You can you set it for seller or seller pay shipping, which I would do if you're perhaps Canadian. That's one of the big things as a hockey collector is that for us is that they don't officially support Canada yet, but there are several people from Canada that use it. There's workarounds. Mainly, if you set it as seller pay shipping or you can set it for buyer pay shipping. You just put in $5 for Canada Post or whatever. You can do that, but you basically need to have a U.S. mailing address. So I know a lot of people in the border areas have a P.O. box across the border, or have a cousin that lives in Buffalo or something they can use as their address. So that's how they get around.
They need to have a Baba Louie. They got to have a Baba Louie.
Exactly. They need the Baba Louie Coke / card mule.
Yeah.
So
question for you. Let me back up for just 1 second.
Yeah,
I wanted to ask you about with the I presume when you're buying and or selling, you obviously create an account. You can have does it link to like eBay does? Does it link to like your PayPal or Apple Pay, or is it basically just card on file, or how's that operate? Just to get that question out.
Yeah, so it's card on file. As far as I know, let's actually explore that because I basically have a debit card on. I have my big.
I don't
think you're going to see anything that.
But so if you just
you can
your experience.
Yeah, so you see the last one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so it's the same way. Like if you want to do a cash out, where's my? Let me go back to here.
It doesn't
see my money.
Is that correct, or are you?
Well, I don't know. It's just a debit card or your bank account.
Okay.
So which is great for people who've had issues. Like I was, side note, I was hacked on PayPal like 15 years ago, and they still think I was responsible behind it, so I don't even have a PayPal account.
I gotcha. Okay.
So it's kind of yeah. So you see, I got money here, and if I want to do if I click on balance, I can withdraw. Now they're asking me because I've sold so much, they want my taxpayer info, which just popped up. You can see the regulations here, but You can see my bank account or last 4 digits of my bank account, and I can go, hey, I
I
want
got
that
all that.
money,
I
deposited in
got
my
all that.
account. But yeah,
Cool.
you can't see my full account, so I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But you can see I got pendings. I sold a couple orders yesterday, and then the credits. This is my bastard of credits. So the other thing I will say before I forget is anybody that does download this and wants to sell on here, reach out to me, and I'll be your first customers. I do have an ambassador budget to buy, cards from first-time sellers. So that's part of what the ambassador does is basically reaches out to first-time sellers and make sure your settings are correct. You know what to
Mhm.
do. Here's how to package cards if you've never sold cards online before, and all that kind of thing, and how to print a label out if you use us for printing labels. So they do have pretty good integration with most like 4x6 receipt or label printers. I personally actually use Avery labels, the 3.5x5s that you can get in sheets, because I don't sell enough to go invest into a label printer. I mean, if I was selling 5-6 orders a day, then I'd probably do it. But if I'm selling a couple 3 a week, just my humble little hockey collection, then
Yeah.
I just
Yeah,
print them out one by one
you
with
don't
a.
need a Dymo or one of the Zebra printers just yet. You just use the
Yeah,
Averys. You're
exactly.
pretty good there. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So the next thing
cool.
too here is while I'm thinking about it is you can see what I'm collecting. So if I collect here, I basically put in like basically a search shortcut of stuff that I'm interested in either as collecting or trading for. Since these are kind of big names that even here in Alabama I can sell these cards at the card show.
Mm.
Obviously Predators guys, Birmingham Bulls and Atlanta Thrashers are probably going to do better down here than they are in Philly. So I have that so you can set that up however you want. You actually also set it up for just hockey. You can set it up, if you collect, 21, 22 stature, you can put that in as a search term, so you can find every stature card in the system. So that's basically me right there. Do you have any questions for going further?
No, that's pretty good, summary of like, how to shop on there and how to list stuff on
Yeah.
here. Like I said, I didn't realize it had that aspect of it. I think I may have, but I always thought of it as kind of like a scanning, pulls like for when you're at a card show, you can quick pal,
Yeah.
scan it with your phone and get a card value thing. So I guess is
Hmm.
that probably the next natural resource to talk about that aspect of it, and then maybe we'll touch on after
Yeah.
scanning
I
values,
can
and then maybe
do
the
the.
inventory resource.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically for me, I'll be honest. I don't really previous sales and collects, and they will pull in eBay data. So the scanning values have got or the card values have gotten exponentially better for hockey since I started, and I've heard that it is pretty close. But I just for me it's just easier just to have my online Beckett subscription going in, and if I'm trying to put in 100 23, 24 Parker's Champions cards, I can just go down the list and go, okay, 50 cents, 50 cents, dollar, whatever
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah,
And because, I mean, as we all know that, if there's no scanning data, the issue you run into as well is that if they can't find any data, if you got a /10 insert that there's no public records of, it's not going to give you an accurate uh, uh,
response.
value. I mean, so
Yeah, yeah.
and
I
obviously
think that's
too, if
probably
you're
I
pulling in
think
all the
that's
eBay
probably
data,
one of the
if
things.
you're getting somebody trying to have a fire sale, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the things that I
Go ahead.
was maybe initially deterred on, was the fact that it kind of didn't give me
Hmm.
didn't pull results initially with the when I was trying the scanning options, because with
Hmm.
baseball, football, basketball, I'm sure there's tons of data in there, but
Hmm.
hockey,
Yeah,
it's probably still building.
right. And one thing I will say is, like if you look here, you can see like, let me just go to here real quick to my collection. These are
Mhm.
some. Let me get out of that right quick. Let me let me uncheck that. We'll go back to this later. clear. So basically, this is everything. It just basically shows you the latest things I've scanned in, and you can see now I'm scanning in a bunch of Parker's Champions from 23, 24. And the reason I waited so long is because if you try to scan that stuff in release day or even week or two after, there's not enough image data. So you're basically having to go through. If I scan that Jordan Bennington card in, and it's going to go, I have no idea what it is, and you have to go in and search for it. And so that's one of the drawbacks on it. But if you're scanning in 21, 22, I mean, all the stuff came in without any issue. Anything slabbed by PSA or what is it? What else is PSA own? Is it SGC or CGC? I forget which one.
SGC.
But it actually has okay. So for those two, it will actually is tied into their databases, so it will recognize the barcode and pull in all the data. And I got a slab here I'll demonstrate on shortly. But this is the latest slab. I actually got this in a trade from Fifth or Fifth on Discord.
Which one?
This Gretzky right here.
Oh, this, young, my Lord! Look what's in my PC.
Wow!
Wow! I had that pulled aside. You didn't even know I have that pulled aside for later.
Yeah, that's pretty. Yeah. So sometimes sometimes something like this, it might not. This was a /10. I think this is the high gloss of Forsberg. Yep. And you can see here. Here's what I got stuff priced at. It's showing here. The public won't see this, but in your own collection, like it says $30. It's thinking it's high, but I don't think I'd have an issue selling it for $30 here, and in the Nationals home market. So, but it's just like anywhere other marketplace. I mean, if I put in for 30 and somebody offers me 20, 25, I'm probably going to say yes. So you can. The other nice thing is on this platform, it is built from ground up for collectors. So if you go to somebody's collection and you see I got 10 cards you want, you can sit there and add them all together. They total up $100. You can sit there and send me an offer for 80 for all of them, and I can say yes or no, kind of thing. So awesome. It's a pretty robust marketplace. But cool. The nice thing you can also do too, what I do for my PC is you can see here you can do all kinds of sort by price drops. It's rookies, autograph, graded, mem cards, category, team, so on and so forth. But you can. One of the newer features I added is called locations, and what I did with that is I created a location called PC. So now you can see all my Jake Neighbors cards, and by adding them to the PC, I set it for that location that is automatically set for NFS or not for sale. So I now have a way I can go through, like if I'm at the expo and I don't have my printout spreadsheet, I can. If somebody has this has a Jake Neighbors card, I catches my eye and go, oh, do I have that? And I can scroll through here. I can do searches and see if I have that particular.
Yeah, that's card. Huge. That's a huge.
That's how I use it. The location feature. I guess it might come in handy for people who. Yeah, and you can create multiple locations. Like maybe you have a location for all your high end stuff, and you're like, hey, this is the good box, and if you have 80 boxes of base cards, you can go, hey, it's in box 17 or something like that. You can get that granular if you want. Awesome. So, and there's a full chat right here. You can message back and forth, and Jimmy and back and forth, and I talk with them. So, is there any other questions for scanning it? Something just as an example.
So yeah, that's great. Scanning is definitely one of the things that I wanted to either see or learn more about. So because I know that's you were talking about it. That's a great helpful tool for when you're at shows, checking your own inventory. I know that's one of the things that I use on one of my resources. But because you get to a table and you're like, oh, do I have that? Especially when there's like you go back to the Panini era when you've got like 8 different cards of the same exact design and whatnot, and you're like, oh, I forget. Do I have the 10, the 25, or the 50, or which one am I missing? So it's great that you can sort through your inventory. But yeah, jump into the scanning part of it as far as I guess. So you're talking about scanning a card to see the value and that type of stuff, or
you can do that too. But I'm actually Yeah, actually scanning cards into my inventory. So
Okay.
I'm sure there's a way you can. So basically, I click here. Here's a scan button. I'm going to do this on my actual phone, but I'm going to. We're not going to. I'm just going to pretend. Show you. This is what happens on a scan. You see there's a. If my camera was activated, it would show the card. And
Yep.
one of the things I recommend people doing is doing the scan front and back.
Mhm.
You can set it to scan front and back, and that way it helps eliminate some of the erroneous scans, like especially when you're dealing with like one of the 8 million O-Pee-Chee platinum parallels. It
Yeah.
helps a lot with that.
Yeah.
So here and then here's an option. This is just for regular cards, and here's where if you want to scan graded cards. So it gives you the little top. That's basically for you to put the. If I click that, with the camera, you would
Oh, cool.
put the label of the
Yep.
slab in that.
Awesome.
So, yeah, I will say, I mean, there's the AI is gets better, by the day. It's not perfect, and it's just like with any database. It's garbage in, garbage out. And one of the drawbacks with having people that are casual collectors is they don't know the difference between SP and SP authentic, so it has
Yep.
trouble differentiating the two. So you'll have people scanning in a card they got from a blaster at Walmart, and it comes in accidentally as a SP authentic, and you have kind of to tell them like, no, the card's worth half as much. I'm sorry,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's some super rare insert. And
Right.
same with flagship. It has in certain years, certain designs, certain years, like it has trouble between like the high gloss and base and like the French, variants. So you have to have a keen eye on that stuff. You know, so hopefully with more and more hockey collectors or serious hockey collectors getting on the site, as I see the new user sign up list, so I see every person with hockey, joining. So, and some of them have some really, nice collections. I mean,
So
yeah,
let me
you're gonna
jump
get
in and ask
people.
a question about that.
Sure.
Difficulty recognizing. So I imagine when you scan a card to go and add it to your collection, which then gets added in the database, I imagine there's the capability to manually enter in some
hmm
details about it. Correct?
Yeah, perhaps it pretty much every card's in there, but you may have to do a search, and
Hmm.
it is pretty good with some sets where like if you scan in an O-Pee-Chee Platinum and you scan in the neon yellow surge and it comes up as magenta, it will come up and say, hey, there's 12 variants. You use this drop down box. If it's not correct, to pick that it's actually uh,
Cool.
the neon yellow surge versus the
Yeah.
magenta.
That's
So
good because some of these
yeah,
tools, I think people need to realize too, is that some of these resources, I haven't seen one that's perfect yet. But as long as you're willing to
no,
put in some of the extra time and effort, some of the
hmm
manual elbow grease or whatever, put some effort into it. All you're doing is you're helping to improve the database
hmm
for yourself and others.
yeah,
So
and
it's
they
great that they have a lot of that manual entry as well.
right, and they also do have a team of ambassadors that basically, I guess, have way more free time than me that actually go through scans and they'll actually go yay or nay, that's not correct, and submit it for or tell I don't know what they exactly do if they tell the user or they just manually go in there on their behalf and change it to the young gun base car instead of the French variant or whatever.
Right. No, that's cool. All
So
right. Cool.
yeah, so what I'll do here is I got some. I'll grab. I'm going to do this card first. Let me pull up CollX on my phone. It's a curated signatures I picked up on one of the recent Slap Shark auctions. So I'm going to go in here, pull up CollX, hit the scan, and I'm going to see what happens. And this, as I said, this I haven't tested this ahead of time, so I want to give you guys
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
accurate representation.
No,
And
will we
then,
see that on
not,
the screen here or no?
I
We're
don't
just getting
think
it.
so. What I'll do is let me go back to here.
Okay.
So let's see what happens. Well, it
for
actually
people.
picked it up. So it,
Yeah.
it picked up the curated signatures. I'm not sure if it's
Here, let me pull
the
this
right
off for a
pair.
second and go back
Yeah.
to
So
us.
yeah.
Go ahead
So
before you
what?
share there.
Yep. So what I'm going to do here is add this to my collection. So I'm going to add location to this, which is PC because it's for my PC. I'm going to set the condition. I very much put everything just near mid for the fun of it. But I hit add to collection, and if I hit, let me go out of this and go back to it. Okay, there it is. And you can see
Yeah.
here, these are the estimated values for it. Like I know it's worth way more than 456. So again, that's why I really don't. That's the at least for hockey is still that's why I don't really use it for pricing cards. Plus, I'm old
Mm-hmm.
school and like that. Like I find back just a lot easier. So, but as far as like cataloging and archiving cards, it's it works great. Here's next one I'm going to do is I'm going to do this Wayne Gretzky card that's in a slab. And I'll demonstrate the uh, slab scanning
Lab
functionalities
scanning.
for PSA.
Now, let me ask you while you're doing that
So
scan there. So, can you go into the profile that you have and the add the value that you paid for it to that card profile?
I actually think you can. So let me do this right here.
Cool.
Yeah. So there's a lot of, like I said, touched the tip of the iceberg. So I just scan this in.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the AI. You can see, some of the pricing data. I think there's an option up here. Let me find it. And also they're, embedded with PSA too, so you can actually, go through. Uh, Let me do. I think it might be here. I've done this before. Okay, here it is. So you can go on and say, like, here's the option. Like, if it wasn't the right card, you can get in here, tap to search. You can go in here, is it graded? No. Listing say that's not for sale. So you see the purchase price right here and the purchase day. So
Yeah.
you can keep track of when you actually bought it and what you paid for. And it brings up a good point with Josh, in their show this week about factor in the shipping and tax and all that stuff. So that's between, that's up for you to decide. You can also do a weight override. So if you got some rare card and some super duper, one touch or, display that, weighs more than the standard half ounce or whatever it is for a card, you can manually go in here and set that for 5 ounces or whatever. So,
Yeah.
person's paying for the appropriate, postage. So yeah, it does have that feature that
Cool.
you can really get granular on this. Um, so so let me see if my Gretzky scanned in. Oh no, I'm sorry. This is a Jake Neighbors card. I lied. I do have the Gretzky. We talked about the Gretzky earlier. It's the Jake
Yeah.
Neighbors card. Let me add that to my PC.
And then you can refresh your screen.
Right,
I'm amazed at how
and then
fast that
automatically for
image
condition.
popped right up.
Yeah. So let me just do this real quick. Yeah. So it's right there. It's got your PSA 8, not for sale.
Yeah.
It's So it's.
So people
I
can
want to see
still
if it has
see
like
it
a
in your
screw.
collection. You just have it flagged as not for
Right.
sale. Correct? Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So yeah. And you see the front and back. I took photos of the front and back, and
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty smart. It's able to crop out all the, my crappy little piece of cardboard I scanned it on.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
That's cool.
exclusives, and you can see it has a certain number in there, not for sale, PSA. But it also does pretty much all the grading companies. I mean, I've done Beckett, I've done Tag, I've done some of those oddball ones you see up in Canada.
Yeah. Well,
But
oddballs to us, right? But
yeah, but yeah, you're able to add those in. I mean, you might have to do it manually, but you can. So that's the gist of how to scan on a graded and a raw card.
Mhm. Well, I think one of the things I'm going to pull us back here because we talk philosophically for a second, and then we'll jump into what's next. Like, I guess, well, you kind of covered the inventory resource, but if there's something else, but
Mhm.
one of the things that I think is important to remember, and with any of these resources that people use, is
Mhm.
like you said earlier, like garbage in, garbage out. Like, you need to put some time, a little bit of time and effort and energy
Mhm.
into these to make them better, not just for
Mhm.
yourself. I mean, that's the most important thing, right? Making it better for yourself, tracking your cards, keeping those things in there, but also it will help others in the long run. But having something at your fingertips that is useful when you're on the fly at a card show, or when you're talking to somebody and you might want to show them something that you have on the fly. Those are really valuable resources, because we can't all carry around a loose leaf notebook with notes and
Mhm.
cross off check marks, and
Yeah.
and that doesn't make sense. And let's face it, uh, I've gathered and known you've off and on Discord and whatnot. We're a couple of hockey card collectors who like some little bit of nerdy tech tools to use as a
Mhm.
resource. That's a great asset to have. Um, it's more advanced than just having an Excel file. Like, my Excel checklist, as much as I love them and I still do them, I have them on my OneDrive, so I can access
Mhm.
those on the fly if I want to. So it's funny. Like,
Yep.
I think I mentioned it, but like, I track things on three places. So it's
Yeah.
I go overboard, but like, you got to put some time and effort and energy into it. I'm glad
Mhm.
that CollX allows you to
Yeah.
modify and edit some details to help um,
Yeah. And,
make it better.
and the one thing I forgot to mention too is that you can export your collection into a CSV file. So there is an option in there if you want to export collection. You do have to be a pro user to have to use that, which I forget what it costs. But my ambassador tip for that is, if you sign up for the basic, and then after a week or two they'll start sending you deals in the email, and that is a you know that is one of the features you get with the pro account is you can export it, and that's if you ever see me in the Discord where people are saying, hey, I need I collect Flyers cards. I can go in my CSV file, download the latest one, basically sort it by Flyers, and just copy and paste it. Like, here's what I have. Take let me know if anything catches your eye.
Oh, that's
So there is that
fantastic.
option. There's also
Yeah.
that yeah, and also it gives you a link to the actual scan photos too. So if you do, I think if you're clever enough, you can actually take that and export it into, like, eBay. If you do want to list a bunch of cards into eBay as well, you can, and it should be able to draw in the photos that you have from CollX. So other thing is they do have a dealer product called Car Dealer Pro. I've never used it. It does integrate with eBay and some of the other big selling sites. It does integrate with using it is a desktop app you can use on your computer. It does this integrate with a card scanner. So if you do have tens of thousands of cards and this is your full time gig, you can just put a giant stack of cards in there and have it do its thing.
Well, so you're saying it'll connect to one of those? I've seen people that have those pro scanners where you just put the card in the penny sleeve and they slip them through
Yeah,
those
they just
scanners.
yeah, but you can just has basically just put them in a hopper and it just goes
Yeah,
and
that
you
makes
know
me nervous. So cards.
yeah. Yeah, so that's why it's a hobby for me. I'm not, it's not my
Yeah,
career. I mean, I'm not looking to spend thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars on new tech gadgets just to scan cards, faster. So, I mean, I'm perfectly happy doing 5, 10 at a time, with my phone while I'm,
yeah,
reading email or reading, our company's team, messages, Teams channels or whatever.
yeah. Now,
So,
can you, without using the scanner, if you have a problem with the card getting recognized, I presume you can just manually enter a card completely from
yep,
scratch.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I scan a card in and it has no idea what it is, it will give you the option to go, card not found, search for it. And you can type in,
Okay.
like I got Parker's Champions, Taylor Hall base card right here. You can just type in Taylor Hall 139 and it should pull it right up.
So
And
they
you can just
have
go, yep, that's it.
in their database, I presume they've uploaded checklist data or like not
Yeah,
like that type of stuff. That's good.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Maybe
I
we need to
found
pimp them out to Josh for hockey
yeah.
checklists.
I've asked Josh too about them releasing an API so we can pull in the hockey checklist data, but I think that might come down the road at some point, but we'll see.
Yeah, and if there's any difference between what he's entering and or
Right.
what's being entered there, it might have a connection. So
I have
that's
I
awesome.
have found like two cards in my PC that were really oddball, like parallels of a parallel. So it
Okay.
didn't have it in there, but we have the option of submitting missing cards, and they do add them. They're very responsive. I mean, we have as ambassadors, we have a bat phone type email address where if we notice there's problems, we can submit stuff right away and gets put to the top of the list. And that's kind of the nice thing about them is it is by collectors for collectors, and they are very responsive. They do take constructive criticism, well, and if you have ideas or things that you can improve upon, they do take it into consideration. And a lot of times, like, oh, that's a great idea. We'll add to the list.
Well, that's good. So it's good hearing that when you have ideas or have information like that you're
Hmm.
being heard, because I think that's the
Hmm.
biggest thing that people have and complaints. And I know that's the way I would feel. Like if you're doing something, putting in effort, and you're not being heard, that's
Hmm.
frustrating and doesn't make it. But that's good to hear that you're doing that. They'll do that with you. So
Yeah,
um,
I mean, regular users, though,
yeah,
there's uh, ways to suggest for suggestions, and hey, if you catch a bug, let us know, kind of thing. We'll fix it. Because I mean, anytime you're a tech guy too, but
mhm.
with Android phones, I mean, there's 8 million Android phones and Android builds on the market. They might push an update out and it breaks on Google Pixels that are on T-Mobile only, kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
unless somebody has that phone and reports it, they have no idea. So they will
yeah.
push a bug fix out, and once they identify it, they can replicate the issue.
Cool. So were there any other features that I think you touched on all the things that I was thinking about just personally. I mean, as far as the scanning, the inventory, the values, which is it's wonky. Like I said, it's kind of like any one of them because especially if they're
Mhm.
pulling the values, they're probably pulling from the same resource that everybody else is, which is eBay sold listing API data. So, right, wrong, or indifferent, you said yourself you use other resources if it's not correct in there. I know I do. I
Within
still
their
use
own.
Peak, so I think everybody's got. We all probably have like five different resources that we use, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't 100% trust Beckett. I mean, but for base cards and low level inserts, if I sell a card that was comping at $5 for $3, on here, like I'm not losing any sleep over it.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously, I'm
exactly.
looking around. If I have a $500 card, I might look at multiple sources of
Oh,
pricing data, or
of course.
that kind of thing. But for base cards, low level parallels, like I'm happy just using Beckett. And if somebody's like, "Oh, it's really selling for $1 on eBay," I'm like, instead of $2, I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah,
fine, I'll sell it to you for $1." I'm not getting into I'm not going to get into an argument over $1.
yeah.
You know,
So, were there any
so
other resources, or I think they did a great job covering what I thought of. Is there anything else that we're missing?
I'm looking at my notes. Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I mean, what I recommend it for is obviously for collecting, or for inventorying your collection, inventorying your traders, and or stuff you want to sell. It's a great resource for selling, low end and mid end. I mean, obviously, if you got high end cards and you want to sell your too, it's great. I mean, people buy them. I've bought a lot of really nice Future Watch autos on here or traded for them. Or,
Cool. Are
so
those
it's
trading in there
so
too?
um, I think they're trying to come up with a way to make a formal way to do it, where like somebody says, hey, I'll trade you this card I have in my inventory for that card, and do you agree to it? I think that's in the works. But I mean, yeah, I've traded with a few people on there as far as like,
Okay.
as you see my profile, like, hey, I collect Jake Neighbors, and somebody will come like, hey, I got this one, will you trade me this card you have in your collection? I go, sure, and I just do it offline.
Cool. Yeah, that's cool. That's great. Yeah, there's no poo pooing on that and that platform like there is on eBay. I guess
No, no, yeah,
So,
it's
yeah.
kind of
Well,
the
that's good.
anti eBay, so
Cool. Yeah, so yeah, people can find there's an app for CollX. There's the website. I think you mentioned earlier. I don't have the data handy. I'm a horrible host. I should have looked up what a pro account costs, but you said you recommended if somebody wants to give it a shot, to create the basic account first to start, which I presume is free. Is that correct, Scott?
Right. Yeah. I think they limit you to, I forget if it's 50 cards or a few hundred cards. I forget. I'm not
Okay.
being a great ambassador, not knowing that off the top of my head, but
Yeah, no, I
give it
wouldn't
a try.
expect
Make sure
you.
you like it or you're comfortable with it, and then yeah, and maybe sell a few cards on there, and if you like it, upgrade to Pro and get the extra features. And another nice thing they do about Pro, which I forgot to mention, is that every month, you as a Pro user, you get a $10 credit. So really, it pays for itself. Even if you pay full price, you're getting $120 in store credit a year on there. And sometimes
Mm,
they'll also like, for Christmas, they'll just go blast everything out, blast everyone at Christmas Eve. Like, hey, here's a $10 credit just because you have 48 hours to use it. So it's another great way, because we're selling low end cards because you get people every month that get this $10 that they're burnt because it expires after a month. So you can't just save all your credits for a year and buy a nice Future Watch Auto. So it's a way to lubricate the selling platform. But I mean, so it's great for selling low end cars because people got $10 burn a hole in their pocket, burn a hole in their pocket every month.
I,
You know.
that's a great marketing strategy because honestly, you get that. You come in for a free appetizer. That's literally what they're doing. Here's a coupon for a free
Hmm.
appetizer, and somebody's going to
Exactly.
come in and blow $10, and chances are they're going to blow 15 or 25 or 30. So that's a good resource. It's
Yeah.
funny. I didn't
Exactly.
realize they were from Philly. That explains a lot to me because I thought they were bigger
Yeah.
initially. I ran. They were at the a local card show here in Philly, the Fishtown Card Show that would go to down at one of the casinos down here in Philly.
Mm-hmm.
So makes sense that I've seen them there, and they always had they had a
Hmm.
table set up with all the recognition. And
Hmm.
that was even just like 2 years ago, maybe three. So
Hmm.
saw them there.
Yep.
So well, cool.
They
I think
just
that
did a
covers
Finance
the
Fest.
business side of things, right?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And if anybody, obviously, if anybody has questions about it, obviously, I'm sure you would welcome it. Scott is,
Mhm.
hit you up
Yep.
with DM, or you got to go to the subject matter experts, everybody, which is why I was love the fact that Scott came on. So,
Mhm.
he's going to be the subject matter expert for this that I've ever heard of. So first one I've heard of. So, um, yeah, but let's so yeah, start off recommendations. Start off with a basic account, try it out, stretch your legs, and then if you like it, you can go pro, get some free credits, like Scott said, and then
Mhm.
certainly take advantage of that option where they'll make you an offer for discounted pro accounts to start off with. I'm sure. So
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I'm selling hockey cards on there. So if you want to, hit me up on there, you can. If you want to hit me up in Discord, just let me know, and I'll be glad to be your first customer.
awesome, awesome. So well, thank you for that. That's just that covers this portion. So let's I guess take it home here and do our so now I have a
Mhm.
co-partner here for the PC Spotlight. This is the option where we go things, and I kind of it's ironic. I kind of peeked and shared one of my cards earlier that you have in yours that you just acquired. So, but you're the guest. I will let you go first with a couple, and let's share
Okay.
some. Let me put you in the main thing here. Hang on a second. Let me try this. No, that's not it. Let me do that. But I want to put you. Can I put you there? No. Shoot. I'm not sure how to do that stuff. I haven't done that yet. All right. So go ahead. You do yours, and then I'll go from
Okay.
there.
Yeah. I'll show a couple three. Yeah, this is one of the ones I scanned in earlier. It's a Young Gun exclusive of Jake that I picked up from Fifth for Fifth on
Hmm.
in a trade on Discord. So really excited to get this since you know won wanted a card and trade that I've had for a while, and it worked out. It's one I
Nice.
didn't have. I picked this up in the Slap Sharks auction. The doubloon. and I
Oh
got a
yeah.
hell of a price on that. 'Cause they usually go for about 35, $40 based on prior sales. I got this for like, I think $18 US.
Mm-hmm.
So can't complain there. Then I have a couple more of our wonderful uh, parallels for O-Pee-Chee Platinum his rookie year. And was the other card I scanned in was this curated signatures out of SP Authentic. I picked that up on Slap Sharks auction as well, out of '99.
Okay. So what year is that?
Which that's a good question. That's 23, 24.
Oh, nice. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, there was. So let me ask you this. I know a lot of people like, Jake Neighbors is younger, and he's what's
Mm-hmm.
your appreciation for his, or what attached you to him and his as a
We're
collector and for his game?
distant family member,
Okay.
very distant. Like he has no idea I exist, but I share his last name, and he's obviously the most famous neighbors on the planet besides Jim Neighbors, rest in peace, who is actually from near where I live now.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's
Cool.
kind of why. And also, with him being, most people outside St. Louis don't know him, so you can still collect him at a reasonable price. He's not McDavid or Austin Matthews or anyone like that.
Mm-hmm. That's I get that entirely. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, family ties, distance, long way down the road. But even
Yeah.
I love hearing that when people who and or why they appreciate it. It's easy to understand all the
Hmm.
big guys, like you said, McDavid's and Matthews and Crosby's and
Yeah.
Dreisaitl's. It's easy to understand that. I get more intrigued, like people like you, collected neighbors, me
Yeah.
with Couturier, other ones. I love
Hmm.
hearing those because I think that those are those show, like you mentioned very very early on, the purest of the collectors
Yeah.
in the the process. So
Like
so I'll
there's
just go ahead, Scott.
I was just gonna say, there's a guy on Instagram. I don't know if you follow him. He's actually like one of these. He's an Uber Wade Allison collector who I guess
Hmm.
played for the Flyers, and he's over, I think, in Europe somewhere now. But he has like all these one-on-ones and stuff.
Yeah,
So yeah, he collects them because he went to Western with them. So
yeah. Oh,
which
that's cool.
I went to Western. I went to Western as well. So I was like, oh,
Nice.
that's pretty neat. So yeah.
Those are actually,
Because,
I'll be honest, if somebody wants to, it's weird. My profile name doesn't say that I'm just mainly a collector of couturier, because I'm
mhm,
not just him. But some of the accounts that I like the most are the people that are those devoted, you know, after one particular player, one primary guy, because I like seeing those people who share similar
yeah.
traits with me, which is trying to collect as many cards of one player as they can, and they could be 50-cent cards, they could be $500 cards or higher.
Right.
So
Yeah, I've sold cards on CollX to a bunch of Connor Hellebuck cards to a guy up in Detroit, and come to find out, like he played with them like on his U10 team or something like that. So he's a Connor Hellebuck collector.
that's nice. That's
So
awesome.
yeah,
So
so there's people like that.
I'll just do a couple quick ones for me. So yeah, I shared this earlier. This is I had to represent. I'm doing branding for me for tag. So I have a tag
Nice.
9 of that Young Guns. This is one that I bought on eBay raw. And yeah, what year is this again? This is the
So it's
20
like 2001
2001.
maybe. Yeah.
2001. Now, I love these Young Gun retros or these throwbacks because flashback. That's what this one is. I love
Hmm.
these, but the one thing what I think they did wrong on this is
What's that?
featuring him with a captain on his jersey. You know,
Oh yeah, that's not
um,
true. Yeah.
and it's not like there's another one that I have, which I think I shared before, and it's probably the only reason I didn't do that was it was a rookie year photograph, but this is a pretty badass photo, which is why I
Oh
bought
yeah.
this one. And it's funny, I bought this and didn't realize this is the hobby version of this photo. There's also
Okay.
the retail. There's also a retail version of the same card, just a different photo. So it's like a photo variation. So you can keep your eyes out for
Huh,
that one.
okay.
The other one I have is a 2018, just a Gretzky upper deck canvas, no autos.
Nice.
I'm pretty simple.
Clean card.
I got a nice 9 out of it. The tag slabs are amazing,
They
but
are nice.
that's the just a simple UD canvas. They're not super expensive when you're buying these. Again, I bought this roll. I threw it in the slab because I was looking to. I needed a certain number of cards to get my first tag submission, so that was that. And then the last one I'll share. So last week I shared my gold outburst, Sean Couturier. I just got the red
Oh
outburst
wow.
this week. So it's funny. I got the gold outburst before I had a red outburst. So
Wow.
just got that one on ComC, very auction on eBay. So very cheap. So I was happy with that one. So, but that's all that I have for my cards. So, well, Scott, did you have a fun? Do you have a good time?
Oh, absolutely. I was looking forward to this all week.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I appreciate it. Really, it's helpful. The purpose is to help people learn, to understand something.
Hmm.
I can't thank you enough for helping and take the time to do that because, like you said, there are ambassadors for CollX, and that's important for them as a brand and getting the word out there. But um, just making people aware of the resource because, like I said, I've known of it. I had ideas of what it did,
Hmm.
and it's certainly something I think I will check out and give
Yeah.
give a look see. So, do you have anything that you want to wrap up with or close, or if not, we can just kind of
Uh,
promote where like people can find you other than
yeah.
Discord.
Yeah. Just last thing I would say about CollX is if you tried it a couple 3 years ago and you didn't think it was ready for prime time, give it a try now. It's gotten exponentially more feature rich, and a lot of the bugs and kinks have been worked out.
Mhm. Yeah, that's
As
great.
far as me,
Very
where to find
efficient.
me, my web, yeah, yeah, my website is southernhockey.cards, and you can go on there, and I got resources. Basically, I built that as a way for Southern collectors to find out where they can actually buy hockey cards. Promote like my sales, my card shows, and things of that nature. And you can go on there and find all my social medias on there.
Awesome. So southernhockey.cards.
Yeah, I had no idea .cards was a thing, and then I went to LCS here in town that actually had it. And I was like, oh, I'll be damned. So I looked it up, and it was available. I was like, well, I'm going to get that. And that's pretty smart
That's
marketing.
perfect. Awesome, awesome. Cool. Well, so there you have it. There's a good summary of CollX from an ambassador of CigarScott, Postmaster Scott. Maybe if Josh feels generous in a few months, maybe he'll become Postmaster General Scott. So who knows? But so again, thanks again, Scott, for joining us this week.
Yeah.
Remember, you guys can catch new episodes here on Discord every Tuesday. Look for the Behind the Bench channel with my little clover emoji. New episodes again dropped every Tuesday, and as always, jump in, have the discussion, hit up Scott, ask him questions. I'd love to see your comments and questions. Share your experiences. Maybe you have some great experiences using CollX as well. So, um, I love it when the conversation continues here on Discord. So feel free to chat it up in the Behind the Bench channel. Remember to follow Scott at southernhockey.cards, southernhockey.cards.
Hmm.
And for his socials, for me, you can follow me on Instagram at Irish Flyers Collector. You're more than welcome to send me, hit me up, follow me there. So thank you again very much for taking time out of your day to watch and listen. I genuinely appreciate it. Scott, thanks again for coming on today. I really hope you enjoyed being here. Hope
Hmm.
everybody else gets some. You shared a great wealth of information, so I'm sure that the listeners will get something out of it. So, as always, my goal is to help you guys find something in these episodes and get value to carry on in your journey. So, until next time, he's Postmaster Scott. I'm Neil, Irish Flyers Collector, and you've been Behind the Bench.